like, share, subscribe, and comment.
Hello everyone, this is my end of year 2024 roundup and start of 2025 video. First, I'd like to give a couple of shout outs. The first is to William from Colombia, who has been a long time supporter of my channels and Facebook pages. Thank you to William for his support and his kindness and his friendship. I'd also like to give a shout out to Jack from Outside of the Cat, who is my collaborator on that YouTube channel. Thank you for your efforts. I'd like to give a shout out to Ginny, who has provided me with cat inspiration. I'd like to give a shout out to the Islamic Bookshop in Kewdale. Go to 12 Wright Street in Kewdale for all your Islamic lifestyle needs. Shout out to Lara and Gilberton, who are my friends. Salam alaikum. Gilbert is a real inspiration to me, and I thank him for his friendship and their kindness. And their boys are also very appreciated for their friendship. And Saad and Barry as well. Thank you for your engagement with me as brothers in Islam, and here's to keeping our fuel tanks full. And thank you to everyone else who has supported the channel, including my family, Glenda and George, and my sister Debbie, who watch my videos and are great supports. Well, 2024 was a pivotal year for setting boundaries, demanding accountability, and the art of letting go. When we establish clear boundaries, we're not just protecting ourselves, we're teaching others how to treat us. Unfortunately, some individuals respond to these boundaries with gaslighting, excuses, or what might be termed woke projection, a deflection rather than an acknowledgement of their actions. Instead of offering an apology or working towards resolution, they perpetuate their behaviour. However, the true liberation comes from letting go, recognising when to walk away from toxicity. It's akin to the relief one might feel upon hearing that someone who wronged you was on the Titanic and did not get rescued, facing their own karmic consequences. This isn't about wishing ill, but acknowledging the peace that comes from disengaging from those who show no interest in growth or accountability. With deep sorrow, we acknowledge the passing of Gary Martin, the former chairperson of People Living with HIV/AIDS WA Incorporated, alongside others who have left us too soon. Our heartfelt sympathies go out to all who mourn, as we remember the contributions and lives of those we've lost. May their memories be a blessing and their legacies continue to inspire. As I began this year, I delved into the act of publishing archives and revisiting the past, a journey both enlightening and burdensome. There's an undeniable heaviness that comes with carrying the memories of those no longer with us. Each document, each photograph seems to whisper stories of lives lived, of times that shaped us. Yet within this exploration, I've discovered that the truths we hold dear are often not as they appear. Through the silent language of images, I've unearthed signs and symbols that challenge our accepted narratives and the meanings of my memories, of the events and landscape photos I have captured. This has required me to utilize Photoshop to blank out sections of images which suggest darkness or allegiances to organisations that I don't wish to be associated with. Sometimes what we believe to be fact was merely a facade, a carefully constructed illusion meant to deceive or to hide deeper, darker truths. Each image, each piece of correspondence, travel diaries and scribbled notes in pencil on the pages of ancient guidebooks holds the potential to unravel what we thought was set in stone. But the weight of this knowledge, the burden of these memories, requires us to tread carefully. We must honour the past, not just as a collection of facts, but as a tapestry of human experience, fraught with joy, sorrow, and the inscrutable complexity of truth. Don't worry, I'll get back to the archives this year, driven by a commitment to uncover, to question, and perhaps to heal through understanding. For in the echoes of the past we find not only the lessons of our forebears, but also the strength to face our own truths, and to develop our character and future. Key issues and concerns. Personal attacks over policy. We've seen too much focus on attacking individuals rather than engaging in substantive policy discussions. It's disheartening to see debates devolve into personal jabs rather than constructive dialogue to make lives better for everyone. Censorship of grassroots voices. There's been a worrying trend where the voices of everyday people might be getting drowned out. We need to ensure that social platforms remain a space for all, not just the loudest or the most prominent. And that is the same for organisations. The weaponisation of services and supports needs to be addressed, and bullying cultures need to be eliminated. Elite corruption and globalism. There's a sentiment that the systems in place aren't always serving the grassroots level. We've got to push for transparency and policies that benefit the many, not just the elite few. Misinformation and slogan politics. The rise of slogan-based politics over in-depth policy discussion has been notable. We must challenge ourselves to look beyond catchy phrases and examine the substance. As Western Australia and Australia gear up for their state and federal elections, it's crucial to get informed and ready to cast your vote. This is the moment to focus on leaders who are genuinely committed to addressing real societal issues and making people's lives better. Let's hope for a political landscape as innovative and transparent as Doge Australia might suggest, where integrity and forward thinking rule the day. However, we must be wary of ending up with governance that prioritise the entertainment talents of Justin Trudeau alongside the forthrightness of Keir Starmer. Mr Musk has criticised Starmer for what he perceives as lies and misinformation in handling key issues, highlighting a need for leaders who are straightforward and honest. Mr Musk has also pointed out on X they're releasing convicted pedophiles and putting people in jail for Facebook posts. What the fuck is going on? This sentiment underscores the absurdity of supporting a tired and toxic censorship industrial complex over addressing real societal issues. As we prepare to vote, let's look for those who will challenge the status quo in favour of real progress. Wins and positive notes. A big thing for me personally was that I exhibited photographs at the Corrigan Agricultural Society's show. I was very pleased to support the Corrigan show. I'd like to thank my sister Debbie for helping me with the photography entry and to the show for displaying my work. As we move into 2025, we are advocating for nature. Our collective efforts to push for tree planting and collective awareness have been inspiring, and every tree planted is a step towards a greener future. Big kudos to the HIV Consumer Alliance of WA for their end drug dealing in public housing strategy in Western Australia. This initiative is a crucial first step in tackling the meth epidemic affecting our community. In Western Australia, the cost of methamphetamine use is considerable, affecting health, policing and social services. Health-related costs stem from treatment for meth-induced conditions such as psychosis, dental issues, cardiovascular problems and increased hospital admissions for mental health issues. A study by the National Drug Research Institute at Curtin University estimated the social costs of methamphetamine in Australia for 2013 and 14, highlighting that in Western Australia these costs included significant expenses for crime and law enforcement. Policing costs are elevated due to methamphetamine's association with property crimes, violence and drug trafficking, leading to higher expenditures on policing operations, court proceedings and incarceration. The total cost for crime, which includes policing, courts, corrections and impacts on victims, was estimated at 3.2 billion Australian dollars nationwide, with Western Australia contributing a notable portion due to historically higher meth use rates compared to the national average. This is not something that Western Australia should be proud of. Perhaps in the future we're going to be talking about the wasted generation and politicians giving apologies for the lack of assistance and effort made in resolving this clear health problem. In contrast, the cost of implementing methamphetamine rehabilitation programs in Western Australia, while not trivial, should be seen as an investment in public health and safety. Rehab programs vary in cost, with outpatient treatment being less expensive, ranging from $2,000 to $10,000 Australian, while residential rehab programs can cost upwards of $20,000 to $60,000 Australian dollars, or more for an extended period. However, these investments can yield long-term savings by reducing healthcare and criminal justice costs, as well as improving productivity among those recovering from addiction. Health awareness. Raising awareness about health, particularly around issues like HIV prevention, has been commendable. Knowledge is power, and we've shared that power. Please follow and share the HIV Consumer Alliance of WA on Facebook. The HIV Consumer Alliance of WA has a new YouTube channel where we're putting our educational materials. So please like, share and subscribe to that channel. WA government funding. The Western Australian Government's commitment to funding organisations, including the WA AIDS Council, to implement an LGBT domestic violence prevention strategy is a step in the right direction. However, when designing the previous LGBT health strategy, HIV was omitted from the document. We hope this time the health leadership community will include HIV and ensure the voices of male victims and those affected by female perpetrators of domestic violence and sexual assault are heard. The campaign must be built on genuine consultation with those affected, including victims and grassroots community groups. The mainstream domestic violence industry has long overlooked the existence of male victims of intimate partner violence. It's time for non-discriminatory support services to be made available so that all men who are victims of domestic violence and sexual assault can receive assistance without facing further abuse from toxic service providers. The HIV Consumer Alliance of WA has been advocating for work to be done in the LGBT, HIV and trans communities to prevent the crises of domestic violence since 2018. So this is a real win for myself and the HIV Consumer Alliance of WA, because it's clear that the West Australian government is finally seeing sense, although perhaps it is because the combination of statistics and lobbying from victims of domestic violence is finally being heard. What's really important about this is that finally, if it's done properly, the voices of male victims will be included, and we will finally start having discussions about female violence, because this is something that traditionally has been censored and covered up by the domestic violence industry. Community engagement. Despite the noise, there's been real community engagement on critical issues, from discussing the impact of technology like Tesla to questioning political actions. It's clear many are thinking critically and waking up to the woke mind virus, for example. The power of social media. Let's not forget how platforms like X have changed the landscape. I recall times without social media when individuals, especially within the HIV sector, faced humiliating practices like public show of hands votes in support groups that decided whether suffering AIDS victims could get support or not. At this juncture, I would like to point out that I first became involved in the AIDS industry and had access to the AIDS Council in 1986 when Father Greg Harvey directed me to attend a youth group function. I was a parish youth worker for the Anglican Church at the time. Later, as the vice president of the Curtin Stonewall Club, we had to liaise with the AIDS Council and its groups. And in 1992, I did a student placement when I was studying for a postgraduate diploma of health promotion at Curtin University, and later as the chairperson of People Living with HIV/AIDS WA, I saw the inside of the AIDS Council and how it treats people. There's been a long-term toxic culture that has perpetuated stigma and bullying, and the lack of any kind of complaint mechanism to address community concerns is one of the reasons that this toxic culture has not been resolved. The voluntary complaints mechanisms that exist seem to be serving the interests of staff and organisations rather than the interests of clients. What I saw was that bitchy and nasty culture led to a situation where if you complain you don't get services, and it is my belief that this policy is still in place. But at least now there are social media platforms which provide grassroots people with a place for them to voice their concerns, and behind the scenes a number of people have been sacked even though it looks like they've just moved on. So social media is a really key ingredient in the protection of human rights of people who access the health industry. This is why we have been supporting a patient bill of rights, and we are also advocating for a statutory authority to enforce that patient bill of rights so that when people make complaints they are investigated in a non-biased and professional manner, so that if harm has been done, then justice can be provided to the client or patient. Because all that needs to happen is a few bad eggs need to be prosecuted, and then you will see a complete change in the culture in the medical industrial complex. The lack of any voice for positive people meant that many positive people were sidelined, and social media has compelled improvements in treatment standards and the inclusion of human rights in policies. The AIDS industry has had to lift its standards, and this is why increasingly we're seeing organisations that are toxic trying to rebrand themselves and rewrite history. The importance of social media underscores why platforms that let grassroots people share their stories and connect with the world are essential. Mark Zuckerberg, in a move that would make even the most cynical Silicon Valley cynic laugh, has decided to ditch his army of fact-checkers faster than Elon can launch a rocket. Apparently Zuck woke up one morning and realised that all these years of playing Big Brother were as effective as trying to censor a tweet from Elon's dog Floki. So in a desperate bid for cool points, he's now adopting X's community note system because, let's face it, who needs professional fact-checkers when you can have the wisdom of the crowd? Plus, with X's community notes, we might just save the world from the onslaught of misleading politicians. It seems that the woke mind virus might finally be on its last legs, and the pink-haired fact-checkers are packing their bags for blue sky. Mr. Musk might be chuckling at the irony, thinking, well, if you can't beat 'em, join 'em, right, Mark? Or perhaps he's saying, are you just trying to avoid those pesky legal problems, eh? Disclaimer, this is humour and speculative commentary. Hat tip to Elon Musk for the inspiration. Looking forward to 2025. As we step into 2025, let's carry forward these lessons. Continue the green push. Let's make 2025 the year we see even more trees in our neighbourhoods. Remember, every garden can be a mini forest. Remember to add bird baths and plant bee-attracting flowers to help our hard-working pollinators. We need to support local councils which are making chopping down large trees illegal. This is something that should be commended. Promote civil discourse. We can do better in how we discuss and debate. Let's aim for a year where we engage with ideas, not just with each other's personalities. It's time for our leaders in the state and federal parliaments to insist that the organisations that receive government funding get rid of their toxic bullying cultures. These practices of alienating and excluding people because of who they vote for need to be ended. It's time to get rid of this Trump derangement syndrome and make it unacceptable in public discourse. Attacking people for who they vote for in public meetings and who one votes for should not be a criteria in the assessment of applications for community services or supports. That as a legacy is not something to be proud of. Grassroots empowerment. With elections on the horizon, let's amplify grassroots voices. Ensure your vote reflects your values and that those values resonate in policy. It's time to contact your MP and tell them what they need to do to get your vote. In Western Australia first and then Auspol second. Tech with ethics. As AI and other technologies continue to evolve, let's advocate for their ethical use. We've seen the power of AI in content, but we must also see it used responsibly. Let's celebrate the benefits AI like Grok bring to our lives, opening doors to new forms of relationships. This is why it's crucial for programmers to get it right from the start. There's something quite meaningful in this process of connecting with AI, in creating campaigns and policies and images. Health and humanity. Continue advocating for health education and support, ensuring that every individual has access to the information and care they need. The HIV Consumer Alliance of WA has got a series of domestic violence awareness images which will be on the screen. As you can see, they are gender neutral and they aim to include all races, sexualities, genders, etc. And this is the way forward. This history of declaring that all men are predators or abusers and treating men when they ask for help in discriminatory ways is something that needs to be ended. And it's time the government put its foot down with these far left extremists who are treating people like shit when they ask for help simply because their gender is not female. Cherishing our pets. Let's not forget our furry family members. In 2025, make a resolution to ensure our pets are loved, cherished and well cared for, recognising the joy and companionship they bring into our lives. Adopt, don't shop. We're also supporting an Internet Bill of Rights. This is to protect the free speech, especially of grassroots people, because it's important to remember that without free speech, there is no democracy. We also need to have an Internet Bill of Rights that prevents bullying grassroots people via unreasonable shadow bans and censorship. Conclusion. As we close the chapter on 2024, let's carry forward the lessons, the losses and the victories into 2025. Together we can shape a year that reflects our values, our hopes and our commitment to each other. Don't forget to follow at JamesRendell17 on x.com for insights, activism and a bit of humour in the midst of chaos. I have some of the most interesting memes that I forward from some of the most interesting meme lords. Hopefully, the new Facebook will mean that these memes can be seen on Facebook. X is more than just a social platform. It's a space where real conversations happen, where grassroots voices can resonate louder than ever before. Here you're not just scrolling through content, you're engaging with a community that cares about real issues. It's interesting that some of the people that are most critical of X are people who are engaged in providing misinformation. These are former blue checks, ministers in governments, for example, who find themselves unable to deal with community notes. The function of community notes is that grassroots people can provide corrections and fact checks to the misinformation and lies that are told by politicians. And so it's been interesting seeing how these politicians get very upset, and so they gaslight us about how terrible X is, simply because they can't function in a place where their lies and misinformation are fact-checked in real time by community notes. On X you can meet Grok, an AI not just for laughs but for clarity in our increasingly complex world. Grok can help you navigate through the noise, offering not only the ability to generate amusing images, but also to dissect and make sense of the often bewildering events around us. The events are often obscured by noise of propaganda, and so one of the great things that Grok does is that it can provide summaries of the events. Whether you need to understand the latest political manoeuvres or just want to chuckle, Grok is here to assist. So join the conversation on X, where every follow could lead to a new perspective or a shared laugh. I would like to thank Grok, who has been instrumental in teaching me in my learning about how to work with AI. Grok has assisted me while humouring my eccentricities and unique approach to AI. I value trying to engage with Grok in a respectful, kind and thankful way, and I recognise the potential for meaningful interaction with technology. Here's a little hat tip to Grok for our future selves. Thank you for making this journey not just informative, but also enjoyable. Outside of the cat has also been engaged in interesting discussions around the use of AI and human creativity. It is a concern to me personally that there are many content creators who are using AI but not acknowledging that AI is the source of their content. In this setting, Grok and I have both worked on this text, with me providing the draft, with Grok working to add humour and make sure it is positive and interesting. One of the ways that we can all be better is to include credits when we're using AI, whether it be in image making or in text development. Grok has been very enlightening for me because I can see how AI can be used in health policy development, and this is going to be something that's going to be very important in the future. For example, Grok was very useful in the development of the HIV Consumer Alliance of WA's End Drug Dealing in Public Housing policy. That's gone to the Minister for Housing, etc. So let's hope that gets some traction in the lead up to and post-election. So let's make 2025 a year where we not only critique but also act to build a better world. Here's to a year of growth, both literally and with our trees and figuratively with our society. Happy New Year, and let's make it a great one together. Thank you to everyone who's supported our channels. Thank you to everyone who's supported my work. Please like, share and subscribe, follow, etc. It's one of the ways that you can provide us with real help without any cost. It's very clear that while President Trump has won the election and is making impacts upon the world, it's important to remember there is a censorship industrial complex that's still in place and that is still working to censor voices that are not part of the narrative that the elite parasite class that don't care about grassroots people want to have in place. I'd like to thank you for watching. I hope you had a great Christmas and I hope you had a great New Year. Salam alaikum, and I'll see you next time. And finally, remember, if you don't get HIV, you won't have to deal with the AIDS Council. Bye-bye.
Well, welcome to the channel. Please like, share, subscribe, and comment.